And the questions asked, well, have actually been in the country at all, and I think it puts a dampener on what should be a very positive experience for this country. And I say that as someone who is going to be clearing spare accommodation this weekend, ready to put it at the disposal of local authorities should it be needed.
Wow.
You know, I really want to do that, and I will make it available and be there to try and provide something to help these people. Because if we don't help these people, what is going to happen the next time? God forbid that there's a conflict in the world, and we as a country, as a Western democracy, are depending upon the assistance of these people, putting everything on the line for us.
Well, credit to you. I hope it goes well. I think that's tremendous effort, Andy. Let us know how you get on, because this story's not going away. Andy, thank you. Another story that's going away is the triple lock, and gloomy headlines today. Sunak actually set to act pension triple lock. You may recall last month it was the turn of Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng to be on the LBC exclusive call to Cabinet, and he took a call from Shauna in Stockwell, who asked for a guarantee the government would stick to that manifesto pledge regarding triple lock for pensions.
In terms of the triple lock, the pension triple lock, it has been debated a lot, and I've always...
Is it safe?
I think it is safe. I mean, I've always been of the view that we should stick to what we wrote in the manifesto. Of course, things have happened, like COVID, like the fact that we spent £350 billion in 1 year to support the economy. And I think any government, any group of politicians or civil servants will debate how we can raise the money. But as far as I am concerned, the triple lock is still here.
Well, let's put pound, shillings and pence to that, or pounds and pence, sorry. Figures released by the Office for National Statistics yesterday showed wages have climbed by 8.8% in the 3 months to June, compared to the same period a year earlier. From £179.60 this year to £195.40 next year. That's additional £822 in the course of the year. Now, I appreciate, in the terms of expenditure of governments, that's not a lot of money, but 822 times all the people who claim it. Well, what's the financial reality? Julian Jessup is fellow at the Institute of Economic Affairs and has served as the organisation's chief economist and joins me now. It might be a little unpalatable for some of my listeners, but does this make financial sense in your book? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm afraid I don't think it does. Obviously, there are two problems here. And one is that the government, as you say, has committed to keep the pensions triple lock as part of the manifesto. But on the other hand, nobody anticipated the impact of the pandemic and the fact that that would drive up wages in this particular year as much as it's done. So I think there's a risk that you end up with an unintended windfall for pensioners when, frankly, there might be much better uses for the money. That said, I think there probably is still some case for keeping the pensions triple lock in the longer term. So rather than axing it completely, what you might do is just tweak it a little bit this year. So, for example, use a different measure of average earnings that strips out some of those distortions.
Can you imagine the political round suggested were they to do that?
Well, it would be as much for a political round than abandoning it completely. And I think there are lots of independent commentators, not just myself, but others from all sides of the political spectrum, saying that there is a problem here that means that you can't just stick to exactly how the rule was applied in the past. And I think if it's just a temporary adjustment impact of the pandemic, then I think the political fallout from that would be relatively limited, particularly if the government sticks to return to normal pensions triple locks in future years.
Okay, so it needs a tweak, and then you would return to it as we currently see, wouldn't have a permanent change or review of it.
Well, I think I don't have a review of it, but I think that's a separate debate. There are sort of big pros and cons of the pensions triple lock. I mean, it is a way of raising pensions gradually over time and making sure that they keep pace with not just inflation, but also the overall strength of the economy because of the link to earnings.
Julian Jessup, thank you for your time. You're a fellow at the Institute of Economic Affairs. You served as the organisation's chief economist. We're going to take an early news bulletin because we think we're going to be hearing from the Prime Minister in the next few minutes. So let's go to 29. This is Breakfast with me.
Must be an immediate Taliban. The government has announced plans to resettle 20,000 vulnerable Afghans in the UK in the coming years. Inflation called the UK last month 2% in July from 2.5% due to a drop in clothes prices. This year's Japanese Grand Prix has been cancelled due to the ongoing coronavirus situation in the country. But now won't take place following these governments. And the weather, for many with some outbreaks of light rain, may west. Also some across parts of northern Scotland. Drier and brighter further east and a high of 22 degrees.
This is LBC.
So I saw Claire on Tuesday at the salon and she said,
I want to get a car for my husband.
and I said, that sounds like a fair trade, and she said,
No, I want to get him a sporty little convertible.
and I said, you need Cinch, and she said,
Cinch?
yeah, Cinch. Cinch lets you buy a quality check used car online, no haggling, with delivery included and a 14-day money-back guarantee. And she said,
So I'm the boss.
and I said, you're in the driving seat now, babe. Cinch, cars without the faff. UK mainland delivery only, T's and C's apply.
It's time to start thinking about swapping your lounge for your lounger and spoil yourself rotten. And that's something a Saga Boutique cruise is rather good at. Boutique is your own VIP door-to-door chauffeur. Boutique is indulging in fine speciality dining in one of our restaurants. It's relaxing in the knowledge that travel insurance and cancellation cover for coronavirus is of course included. Go on, spoil yourself. Sail away this August aboard a newly released UK cruise. Search Saga Boutique Cruises.
Travel insurance provided by Great Lakes SE. Subject to medical scrutiny.
Wide dual camera system and 5G. Phone, you can send pounds and get 100 gigabytes of data, £41 per month plus £29 store today. Together we can. Vodafone.
CPI 9% increase each April. Ends 7th September. Subject to be phone limited. 5G subject to...
Use code SUMMER to save £5 at zingflowers.com. Zing Flowers. Amazing every time.
Did you like it, Grandma?
Wonderful, darling. I'd love to hear another one.
Okay.
Ah, the wonderful sounds of everyday life. Hear them all again. Range of hearing aids for different lifestyles, hearing loss and budgets. Search Specsavers Hearing.
Another one?
Why not?
It's time for Feel Good Fibre. Super fast fibre and getting 3 months for just £1 a month. A month feels a bit like. So switch to brilliant broadband. £9 a month. But be quick, this sale ends 26th of August. For Feel Good Fibre at a Feel Good price, why choose any? Join BT today. 24-month contracts, new customers. See 2.9% increase each March. Average speeds, content may change. $73.99 from month 25. Terms apply.
Nick Ferrari and Breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Waiting for the Prime Minister to address the House of Commons, of course, call back from their summer recess. Let's take your calls, and I apologise in advance if I say a rather hasty farewell. It'll only be because Boris Johnson starts his address. Let's start with Maya in Tottenham. We're going to hear about Afghans arriving in the United Kingdom. How comfortable are you with that? Good morning.
I just want to say I think there's a bit of hypocrisy about our reaction to what's going on in Afghanistan and the human rights and the women's rights issue over there. After all, we trade with Saudi Arabia, we trade with China, we trade and holiday with UAE, including Dubai, and they have a horrendous human rights record. They treat women appallingly, especially in Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Dubai. And also they treat minorities appallingly in Saudi Arabia, China with the Uyghurs and Tibetans and other groups.
Is the difference not that we've had 20 years of trying to put Afghanistan right, and you can't say the same of Saudi Arabia or China? We've lost 457 military personnel there. Isn't that the hook with link with Afghanistan that is not in the same necessarily the same situation as with Saudi or with China? Is that not fair in your view, Maya?
I mean, I can understand there may be, I completely understand it's been 20 years we've thrown, the Western civilization has thrown $1 trillion in there. They've built up this Afghan middle class. The Afghan army was 5 times the size of the Taliban and it fell. So I think the issue there is there needs to be an inquiry into how that happened and into why the Afghan middle classes themselves not defend themselves against the Taliban, and the question has to be...
Well, they hated the president. He was corrupt. So it wasn't like they were fighting for democracy. I think we're going to end it there because I think Boris Johnson is just about to address the House. Let me just check on that, and I think we can go. No MPs are still filing in. So let's take Maya. Thank you. And thank you for your input, Maya. Allows me to get another call on, although again I apologise if I cut away quickly. David in Wickford. David, we're going to hear arrival of Afghans. What are your concerns about this? Good morning.
Nick, my question is, how do you
style multiple home ownership in the UK when we have higher levels of immigration and we need to house people, because 2 and 2 doesn't make 5.
Well, you wouldn't. Would you want the government to regulate that then?
Well,
is it not a product of the free market? Isn't that?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to now. You can't have. Exactly. I mean, the free. If you're
No, I know what you're saying. There will be people desperate for a one-bedroom flat and others who own a portfolio of 20 houses. I get that, but I don't see, unless you want some kind of state control, which I would not necessarily want to sign up to, I don't see how you effectively change that.
Well, how do you then argue the case for young people in, I don't know, places in Cornwall or whatever who cannot afford their local homes because of, let's call it rich millionaires or whatever, who appear there every weekend for a nice little break? And we then have folks coming in also needing homes.
Absolutely.
I think you would have a difficult job speaking to those young people about both ends of that. You would have a justification to argue the top of you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's this extraordinary idea of building affordable housing that's involved, and £1 million, 350. That's not affordable to everyone, is it, David? Is the reality?
Well, that's true. But the thing is that if you're going to tell me there's going to be 20,000 Afghans build council houses, then I'm quite interested in that concept. But are we going to have Afghan builders? Or are we going to have Afghan?
Well, we don't know. I mean, also, if we refer to an earlier story, we could do with anyone who can drive a lorry or a truck, because we're not getting the chicken into some of our restaurants, and there are other supplies we heard, of course, down in pubs. I'm sure not just in Kent, but around the whole of the country, they're not getting their beer, and there are other supplies, their lager supplies, so we need probably lorry drivers and builders just as quickly as we possibly can. David, thank you for that. Let's see if we can go to another one prior to hearing from the Prime Minister. Adrian's in Lewisham. Adrian, we're going to hear from the Prime Minister in a moment or two. What do you want to know about? I think actually... No, Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, very, very quickly.
Yes,
people don't worry about money on the health service. Remember, we've lost between 150 200,000 people through COVID. What generally you would find there is that, they're older people, they put a bigger load on the health service.
Oh,
so
that's interesting.
we've got NHS deaths of about 200,000. So surely 6,000 a year from Afghan refugees would not be a big impact.
That's a very interesting idea. Of course, I mean, these are rather brutal figures. It's, as we said earlier, it's the management of immigration, isn't it, that has to be so careful.
Absolutely. And I generally find they're very hard-working people.
Yeah.
You don't find these people just clogging up the unemployment offices. These are hard-working people. They don't expect hugely high pay. And then if somebody said, well, that's going to drive down UK wages, I can't believe that 25,000 people over 6 years or whatever it is would drive down UK wages. It's nonsense.
Oh, I can see what you're saying there. But again, it all comes down to the idea of the control, and I don't know whether you have any... I'm going to have to... Adrian, we must leave it there. I think we're crossing to the House of Commons. Boris Johnson.
And I begin by thanking you and all the parliamentary staff for enabling us to meet this morning. Before I turn to today's debate, I'm sure the House will want to join you, Mr. Speaker, and me in sending our condolences to the family and friends of those killed in the appalling shooting in Plymouth last week. Investigations are, of course, continuing, but we will learn every possible lesson from this tragedy.
Hello, mate. Full up, please.
Mr. Speaker, I know that members across the House share my concern about the situation in Afghanistan, the issues it raises for our own security, and the fears of many remaining in that country, especially women and children. The sacrifice in Afghanistan is seared into our national consciousness, with 150,000, including another...
Good morning, you got John?
Hello?
Yes, hello. Yes, I've got you.
Oh, good. Did you check with your mum if she got the money or not?
Did I what?
Did you check with your mum if she got the £50 that I transferred?
No. What, you put it in online into her account, yeah?
Yes, I did. And there are proof here that he gave you out for my...
Yeah, alright, mate, don't worry.
no, but I promise her, when I was with her, I said £50. She didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I asked her if she...
Yeah, but she won't. She won't know, mate, because she doesn't do online banking. She'll just have to wait for her statement. Yeah.
No, I underline the phone.
Let's get very confused. All right, mate.
Okay, mate. Take care.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling clutch in my...
Oh, well, that... I
think the pill is working.
Oh, that's good, mate. Good stuff. Buddy, speak to you soon. Yeah, go on.
What about your nerve? Your...
Yeah, I'm in pain. I'm in pain all the time. You know, it is to a certain... you know, but it's I went for an ultrasound and I've got a lymphoma on my arm. You know, it's just one of those things. I'm waiting for an MRI now, and that'll be a few weeks, and then we'll have a idea as to where we're going and what we're going to do. In the meantime, you know, I'm taking these bits which are not great, but you know, they take the... you know, but I'm in pain, mate. Oh, yeah. You know, you got to remember, I'm 60 next year.
60 in each...
Absolutely.
When are you coming back? When are you...
Oh, funnily enough, I've just booked the flights. I'm coming back of October for my birthday on the 16th, and I'm on the 25th.
Okay, maybe together, because I was looking to see if I can a weekend in Malta. Apparently, it's closed, isn't it? The
airport's open now, mate, and we are accepting visitors from the UK, but you've got to be done with it, yeah?
No.
I know.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Alongside this core mission, we worked for a better future for the people of Afghanistan, and the heroism and tireless work of our armed forces contributed to national elections, national protection of rights and equalities in Afghanistan from positions. Now 3.6 million alone, and in the Afghan. Mr. Speaker, we must be honest and accept that huge difficulties were encountered at each turn, and some of this progress is fragile. I will give way to the honour.
They're doing way. I pay tribute to our ambassador in Kabul and our armed forces on the ground who have been evacuating people in extraordinary circumstances. But one of the consequences of the rapidity of the collapse is that many people have been left trapped, unable to access the airport, including many of those who should be coming to this country, who served us bravely in that country, and many women who are particularly at risk. Many of us across this house will have experienced chaos in the last
5:45, you're listening to LBC live events as the Prime Minister addresses the House of Commons. He's talked about the sacrifice being seared into our consciousness. 150,000 service personnel up and down the country. He's taken questions about whether there needs to be an independent inquiry and whether it ensures a catastrophic failure. He's talked about a better future for the people of Afghanistan and how women are now in education and indeed in what was the Afghan Parliament. Let's go back live to Boris Johnson,
who's handling the evacuation. And it'd be fair to say the situation has stabilised since the weekend, but it remains precarious. and the UK officials on the ground are doing everything that they can to expedite the movement of people, those that need to come out, whether from the Arab scheme or the eligible persons, to get from Kabul to the airport. And at the moment, it would be fair to say that the Taliban are allowing that evacuation to go ahead. So the most important thing, Mr. Speaker, is that we get now out there helping to stabilise the airport, but also to the US forces as well. If I could just make some progress, Mr. Speaker. The combat phase of our mission ended in 2014, when we brought the vast majority of our troops home and handed over responsibility to the Afghans themselves. And even at that stage, and we should never forget that 69,000 of those Afghan army troops have given their lives in this conflict. Parts of the country contested or under Taliban control. And so when after 2 decades, the Americans prepared to take their long-predicted and well-trailed step of a final extraction of their forces, we looked at many options, Mr. Speaker, including the potential for staying longer ourselves, finding new partners, or even increasing our presence. And I'll give way to my honourable friend.
I thank the Prime Minister for giving way. Will he share with the House what assessment UK intelligence services made of the relative fighting capacity currently of the Afghan army and the Taliban? And will he tell us what representations the UK government made to our US allies with regards to their timetable for withdrawal from Afghanistan?
I'm grateful to my honourable friend. I think that when he asks for a commentary on the respective military potential power of the Taliban and the Afghan forces, it's pretty clear from what has happened that the collapse of the Afghan forces has been much faster than expected. And as for our NATO allies and allies around the world, when it came for us to look at the options that this country might have in view of the American decision to withdraw, Mr. Speaker, we came up against this hard reality that since 2009, America has deployed 98% of all weapons released from NATO aircraft in Afghanistan. And at the peak of the operation, when there were 132,000 troops on the ground, 90,000 of them, Mr. Speaker, were American. The West could not continue this US-led mission, a mission conceived and executed in support and defense of America, without enough air power and without American might. And I do not believe it. You're very pleasure.
I'm very grateful to my right honourable friend for giving way. I note
this is Theresa May putting a question to Boris Johnson.
American support for our efforts in Afghanistan and those of our allies. Will he please set out when he first spoke personally to Jens Stoltenberg, Secretary General of NATO, to discuss with him the possibility of putting in order to replace the American support in Afghanistan?
I have to. I'm grateful to my rather honourable friend. I spoke to Secretary General Stoltenberg the other day about NATO's continuing role in Afghanistan, but I really think that it is an illusion, is an option that no matter how sincerely people may advocate it, and I appreciate their sincerity, but I do not believe that that is an option that would commend itself either to the British people or, Mr. Speaker, to this House. Mr. Speaker, we must deal with the position as it now is, accepting what we have achieved and what we have not achieved. And I will give way to the right honourable.
I thank the Prime Minister for giving way. He seemed to be making an argument earlier that he had anticipated something similar to what went on by having the rapid response force ready and waiting. Why then was he and the Foreign Secretary both on their holidays when this catastrophe happened?
Mr. Speaker, the government has been working around the clock to deal with the unfolding situation, and we must deal with the world as it is, accepting what we have achieved and what we have not achieved. And the UK will work with our international partners on a shared plan to support the
Just
people of
update you, the Prime Minister dodging the question from a Labour MP about why he was on his holiday. He's talking about the situation in Kabul has now stabilised. It has become less precarious, and they're doing everything they can to expedite movement. Taliban is allowing evacuation. That got a few gasps from the House of Commons, and they'll move in an expeditious fashion as is possible. He's also been tackled about the NATO issue. Let's go back to live coverage of the Prime Minister's address.
20 years. And I know the whole House will join me in paying tribute to the bravery and commitment of our Ambassador, Sir Laurie Bristow. I give way to the Right Honourable Gentleman.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for giving way on that particular point. He will be aware that there are 228 missionaries in Afghanistan currently under sentence of death. Those missionaries need to be taken out of Afghanistan. Of course, there are tens of thousands of others who are under sentence of death and fear for their life. Will the Prime Minister assure the House that every effort will be made to bring back to safe haven people whose lives are under threat as a result of the catastrophe and foreign policy episode that has gone on in that country?
I thank the Right Honourable Gentleman for raising the very needy case that he does, and I'm sure literally every member, I imagine, has received messages from people who know someone who needs to get out of Afghanistan, and I can tell the Right Honourable Gentleman that we are doing everything we can to help out of that country those people to whom we owe, Mr. Speaker, a debt of obligation. And on that point, I want to repeat my thanks, not just to Laurie Bristow, but also to the Commander on the ground, Brigadier Dan Blanchford, and the entire British team in Kabul. I can tell the House that we have so far, I'm going to make some progress, Mr. Speaker. We have so far secured the safe return of 306 UK nationals and 2,052 Afghan nationals as part of our resettlement programme. The 2,000 Afghan and many more instances, and actively seeking those we believe are eligible but as yet unregistered, and I give way to the Honourable Gentleman.
I thank you for giving way. Can you explain then how many people think are still eligible for relocation and have still to sign up? He says they're doing everything they can to get these